Hi, welcome back to Just an Everyday Fan. So today I want to talk about White versus Clark. The saga continues. Which one do you think is going to win? Well, I can tell you this. We have the WNBA organization here. You have the Indiana Fever organization here. You have White somewhere in the middle. And then you have the assistant coaches, which are kind of a direct dotted line to White. And then you have the fans down here for the Caitlin Clark. I think the organization is going to win. That's who I think is going to win. The organization, the WNBA, is telling Stephanie White, this is what we want you to do. She's playing her game. She's telling them, this is what we need to do. She has a direct line to the W, to Kathy Engelberg, and she's saying, we need to play this offense. This has worked out bad. Now, I'm new to basketball, and for those of you that have followed my channel, you know I'm a brand new channel. I haven't even been up, I think this might be a week today. I found basketball because of Caitlin Clark, and I stayed because of Caitlin Clark. But I also stayed because I have a love for the game, and I want to learn. This is what I know as an everyday, I'm just an everyday fan, and that's what my channel is all about. You're not going to see me run huge statistics. I'm not going to have the ends with people that are in the know. I'm not going to have all that. This is an everyday fan. This is what I see. This is what I can see from what people say and what they don't say. So I have been a trained investigator in the past for decades. So I know when someone's lying. I know when someone is pushing the truth. I know when there's gaping holes in what they're saying and what they're missing. So I've just been trained like that, and it's followed me through my entire life, which can be a curse when just dealing with everyday conversations. But it also can give you insight. What do I know? I know that as an everyday fan, watching Caitlin Clark last year versus watching Caitlin Clark this year, it's painful. You see the glow leave her eyes. You see the smile that has left her face. You see the game that has just been drained from her body. You see what used to be a core 3 is now a fractured 3. It's hard for the fans. It's getting hard for me to watch. It's painful for me to watch. So, quite frankly, where in the beginning I was watching all the WNBA games, I was trying to watch every single game that came out. I'm not doing that now, because the way the organization has handled things, the way, and we're talking about everyone here. We're talking about the organizations, the actual teams. So the Indiana Fever, we're talking about the organization of the WNBA, which is Kathy Engelberg. We're talking about everything that's gone on. You know, if you look up statistics, which I did, and I don't have those right now, we're not going to go over those right now, but clearly the Clark effect has brought more viewers from 2003 to now. Clearly. She's brought everything to the table that you could even ask for from a player. She's a dynamic player. She's a generational player. Arguably, she's probably one of the best women players that has come up through the ranks, because she plays like the NBA players play. She plays a modern game. The game, so you have from what I can tell, you have Stephanie White, right? She's coming in, she's saying, we're going to play this way. This is going to be the offense. We're going to do, emotion offense. We're going to do an old school, old guard offense. You're going to take the ball down and you're going to pass, 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 pass. Everyone touch the ball. Spacing's going to be correct. You're going to get your look and you're going to take it. And she has all but shut Caitlin Clark out of the picture. So Caitlin Clark is paid to bring the ball down and pass it. That's not what Caitlin Clark does. So Caitlin is struggling. The team now, because Caitlin is struggling, doesn't have a leader. And to make things worse, so when Caitlin was injured, Ari McDonald was brought in, and that was a good thing. Ari was a good bring. She was a good get for that time because there weren't that many point guards that were available. So they brought her in. They kept her under their salary cap that they wanted to keep her under. And she was given an opportunity because all she wanted to do was play ball. But Ari is still hungry. So what you have is now you have, or in the last game you had, Stephanie White putting them both in on the floor at the same time, which was clearly a mistake. It should be one or it should be the other. If Clark is clearly the number one point guard, she's the starter. She should start. At this point, because Clark's back, in my opinion, Ari should be sitting on the bench, ready to come in for rest periods for Clark. Or if she gets injured, that's what a backup does. That's what a bench player does. Instead, you have Stephanie White keeping someone like Lexi Hall, who has proved herself time and time again, both being a scrappy player, one of the most efficient three-point shooters from the corners that's in the league, and really good defense, and she brings some height. So now we have her taking Lexi out of the starting position, putting Ari in the starting position with Caitlin Clark. So the team was kind of, it's like, who's the boss? They didn't know who to listen to. They had Caitlin's game. Caitlin was back. She runs a different game. She runs a different pace than what they had over the past 2 or 3 weeks. She just runs. She is Caitlin. That's what she does. She knows one thing. She knows how to run. She knows how to look. She knows how to, her court IQ, which is something that Stephanie White says she's brilliant in, yet Stephanie White will not allow her to use it. So you have someone that's brilliant in reading the defense, reading where the plays need to go, reading and telling and directing the players where they need to move. And that's all taken away from her. It's like Stephanie has just, and I'm going to use this analogy because I think it's a perfect analogy. So for any of you that have ever had a bird, in order to make sure the bird doesn't escape, you clip their wings. And that's what I feel like Stephanie White has done to Caitlin Clark. I feel like she's brought her back and she's clipped her wings. And she's put her in a cage and put her up on a shelf. She feeds her a certain diet. She makes sure she only hears certain things. She isolates her from the team. there is not that team dynamic anymore. I think the last game, which tonight, Indiana Fever slotted to play Atlanta Dream, and that's going to be a difficult game for them. The Valkyries was a total bust. The Valkyries outplayed them. We already know this in every way possible. But you're looking at a team that once had a solid core three, and it worked. Those core three got that team to the playoff. Those core three brought fans in to see Caitlin Clark with the logo threes, time after time after time after time. Clockwork, right? It brought fans to their feet. The audience was standing and screaming and yelling. They were engaged. You don't see that now. You see a quieter stadium. You know, Caitlin Clark has to get everyone on their feet, and even now, she's hardly even trying to wave her arms and to get everyone engaged. It's like the loving feeling has just all left. You even have a psychologist, if this is true and correct, and this wasn't someone faking a deep fake on a YouTube video, if this is true and correct and it was true footage, you have the psychologist now that I've seen that has actually been in the huddle on the floor during a game for the Fever. And on this shot, you saw Caitlin standing there, Lexi, Sophie, and I couldn't tell who the other player was. You have the psychologist down in game. That should never happen. Should never happen. A coach should be able to deliver the message that she or he needs to get across. Why a psychologist is being brought down and a part of the huddle during a game, I don't even know what they're doing now. Is this just some military reprogramming, breaking Caitlin Clark down, putting her in a cage, making sure she doesn't fly? You know, I don't know what Stephanie White is doing. I mean, this is Christy Sides 2.0. That's all she is. You know, I don't particularly think Stephanie White's a good coach. I don't think she can read a defense and an offense on the fly, bring the players in, and change the course of how they're doing things. Not like other coaches that I've seen. No, absolutely not. You see Stephanie White, and then when she doesn't know what to do, you see Austin Kelly in there trying to give the direction. I know they all have a role, but during that time, it should be Stephanie White giving the direction. She should know how to read and react to what the other team is doing, to where a stop can be made for the big plays for the opposing team. That doesn't happen. My goodness, why can't we get a coach on the Indiana Fever? Why can't they bring someone like a Sandy Brondello or a Nate Tibbetts or even a Natalie Mikasa? You see what she has done with her team. She got an opportunity and she is outplaying 85% of the teams. Why can't we get someone like Natalie Mikasa? She was a new coach. She was given an opportunity in expansion team where she picked up fragments of teams, pieces here and there. She put everything together quickly, and she knows how to read and react. She brings her team in and she makes the changes on the fly. And these are hardcore changes that are winning the Valkyries game after game. We don't have that. Indiana Fever doesn't have that. You have a generational player that is known for her ability on the court to read, the ability, the IQ, reading the defense, the passes, everything, the logos, the 3 points. That is what she is good at. That is what she is great at. And Stephanie White has removed every bit of that from her arsenal. She has clipped her wings. The only time during the Valkyrie game was the first quarter when Caitlin came back in. She was making her 3 points. She was putting up points. She was making her key behind the key shots. She was doing the 29-foot 3-pointers. And then all of a sudden, Stephanie White got them in, slowed the pace down, slowed everything down, got them on her way of playing. And then we started losing. By the third quarter, we were losing. They couldn't get their groove back. And you had people like, actually you had, if you looked, when Boston walked out on halftime, when she was pissed. She was mad. Boston walks out, doesn't say a word. She goes straight to the locker room. Here you have Boston, easy going. She's Switzerland, right? She keeps everyone happy. She's just right in the middle. She sits on the fence. She doesn't go one way or another. She wants to keep the players happy, Caitlin happy. She wants to keep the coaches happy. She is Switzerland. She's not going to say a bad word about anybody. She was pissed. Why? Because you have a team that was totally shaken up. So last year they had 3 core players. Those 3 brought game. They won games. They got the team to the playoffs. This year, I'm not so sure. You don't have a core team, and you have the 3 same players on the floor. But the core is gone. The core doesn't have that touch, that feeling, that passing, that confidence in one another. It's gone. It's been broken. It's been pulled. You have Stephanie White now putting in 2 point guards. 2 point guards. They don't know whether they're coming or going. They don't know who to follow. They don't know what pace they're supposed to be at, where they're supposed to be, what the spacing's supposed to be, what the routes are supposed to be, how they're supposed to be defending. And you want this team to win? You expect this team to win, and then you give a post-game breakdown for the media, throwing the team under the bus? Well, they didn't look at the scouting report, and they didn't look at the information, and they weren't playing the way I want them to play. What way is that, Stephanie? Because you have 2 ways out on the floor at the same time. You have Ari McDonald, who clearly wants the point guard spot. She's a scrapper. If you think she's going to yield to Caitlin, she's not. If you think she's going to play nice in the sandbox, I don't think so. She wants, like any other player would want, to take the spot. But she needs to understand she was brought in to be Caitlin's backup, not Caitlin's equal. Rest breaks, injuries. That's what her job is until she gets the opportunity to come forward and get a starting point guard lineup. That's what I see. And for those of y'all, this is interesting. My book came this morning. Yep. So I'll be reading my book from Christine Brennan. That should be a good read. Can't wait. But this is getting painful for the fans. I'm not sure how the fans are going to stick around. I know you have your Indiana-based fans, which are great. Those are your Indiana old school fans, right? Your Midwestern fans that are always going to be there and always going to come. But I worry about the rest of the world. The world that was following Caitlin Clark. The world that tuned in because of Caitlin Clark. People like me. I worry that the W can't even see what they have. The organization of the Indiana Fever are placating to everyone, and they're running their own game, and they're all telling Stephanie White, this is how we want the outcome to be, and this is how you need to do. You have a team that was fragmented. You had a team that had a core three last year that basically brought them to the playoffs. This year, you bring on a new coach and 5 brand new players? 5 brand new players, most of them starting positions. And you throw them into the mix, a very short, here you go, let's get your stuff together, training camp, 2 weeks? That's nothing. For all those players to mesh. Stephanie White is trying to run an offense like Cheryl Reeve. Well, there's a little difference there. Number one, I think Cheryl Reeve is a much better coach than Stephanie White, in my opinion. And you know what they say about opinions, everyone's got one. So you have Cheryl Reeve that runs this offense that Stephanie White wants to run, the old guard offense, the consistent offense. There's a couple of things wrong with that. Number one, Stephanie White is not Cheryl Reeve. Cheryl Reeve can get on that, she can get the players in and she can give them a breakdown of how they need to switch things around to make the stop for the defense. I don't think Stephanie can do that. I don't think she's capable of doing that. Then you have the players that are on the Minnesota Lynx. They didn't have any real big shakeups, right? They had a championship team last year. They went to the championships. Did they win? No. New York edged them out. But they went to the championship game and they kept their same team status quo. Cheryl Reeve didn't make any changes. She didn't bring in tons of new players. There wasn't a new coach to get used to. There wasn't any of that. So when the season started, their 2-week training camp was a breeze. Same players. They already knew each other. They already knew the coach. The coach knew the players. And they were all close. They weren't divided. You had a coach that loved her players and that worked for her players. You had players that worked for their coach and loved their coach and respected their coach. The Indiana Fever have a team that's been fragmented. It's been torn apart. A new coach has been brought in. New players, all the new players have been brought in. Then you had Dwana Bonner leave, and you had some other players. You had some injuries. Caitlin Clark was out for the first time, and the second time, and the third time in her career. I mean, she had never missed a game. I think dating back to her high school days. You have a lot of inconsistencies. You can't compare one to the other. And Stephanie White is trying to play that same Cheryl Reeve style basketball, but she doesn't have a Cheryl Reeve team. And then she blames it on the players. But in actuality, when you look at everything, a team is only as good as its leader. So instead of going on a presser post-game and dicing, filleting the players, maybe, Stephanie, you need to look at yourself and say, what could I do better as a coach next time? And maybe those words need to come out of your mouth first, instead of, well, the players just didn't do anything right. They weren't listening to the scouting report. They weren't watching the drill. They weren't going at the pace I wanted them to go. Their spacing wasn't correct. It was all the players' fault. Yet you gave them 2 point guards to follow. There can't be 2 captains on a team at the same time that play 2 different games with undercurrents of one captain wanting the other captain's spot. And then you have a broken Caitlin who you have literally clipped her wings and said, we're not going to let you play the game that you know how to play. You're going to play this game, and you're going to play it, and you're going to like it. And then once you play the game, in you go to your cage, on your shelf, and that's it. I don't think this team is going to do anything but go downward. Something has to change. I don't think the Indiana Fever are going to make the change. They're not going to fire her in the mid-season. I don't even think they'll fire her next year. They need, and I don't know all the coaches out there, but what Caitlin Clark needs to support her is a really good coach, a really good assistant coach who's all around offense, defense from the NBA, probably a male assistant coach that has credentialed. They need to go to the NBA, take that male coach, put him in the middle of the Indiana Fever. They will play. That coach will play modern day basketball, starring Caitlin Clark. And then that core 3 will be brought back together again, because it'll be how they did it in the beginning. Instead of forcing a tired, what everyone thinks is a consistent, it probably was consistent back in the day. But you have to look at all the players. The players have gotten taller. The players have gotten better. The players have gotten faster. The players have more weapons now than they had when the Cheryl Reeves were coming up, right? When the Stephanie Whites were coming up. Look at the players now. You have players that are almost 7 feet. You have, so anything from, roughly 6 feet to 7 feet. When maybe you look back 20 years ago and maybe the players were just a little smaller. So you have to look at the changes throughout the years. Nothing stays the same in an organization. If you have an organization, or if you have anything, you have to look at it and say, how are the markets changing? How, what's going to be the next best thing? What do we need to look at? What's that thing that's out there that we need to go get, that we need to review, that we need to pattern ourselves after for success? And I don't think it's staying with the same tired organization. It is working for the Lynx right now. But once either the coach leaves or the key players start to leave, and that might be next year because of the CBA, because of the 2 expansion teams coming in, and all the contracts that are just going to bust wide open, that's all going to change. If Cheryl Reeves gets a new team and her players are gone and she doesn't have her players, I don't know that Cheryl Reeves is going to be able to obtain the same amount of success with a new team that she did the team she has right now. She has weapons, yes, but she lets them play to their strengths as well. She doesn't force them into a pattern. My thoughts. What are your thoughts? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, please subscribe if you like the content, and I'll see you next time.